Let's start off with switching over to the color workspace and talking a little bit about what we've done when it comes to managing LUTs, or your lookup tables when you're working with color. We now give you two places to put LUTs. You can put technical LUTs under the basic correction area under input LUT, and you can also put creative LUTs under the look area. Let me show you how to set this up. Setup is pretty simple. The first thing you'll want to do is go ahead on the Mac and navigate from your root hard drive into your library, application support, Adobe, and the Commons folder. Windows users actually need to navigate to a hidden folder, and the easiest way to do this is in your search bar in the lower left-hand corner, type in %, app data, %, and then double click on the app data folder, and that will take you where you need to place the LUTs. And then just navigate to the app data roaming Adobe Common folder. You'll need to start with creating a quick folder. So I'm going to go ahead and just create a folder, and you're going to want to call this LUTs with capital letters and the S being small. It is very specific how this works. Then you want to create two additional folders and just call the first one creative and then call the second one technical. Use the technical folder for camera specific LUTs. I have two that I want to use, so I'm going to go ahead and grab one for the Sony and one for the Red, and I'm going to add those to the technical LUTs folder, and you'll see there's just the two of them in there. And under creative, I'm going to jump out to the web and grab some creative ones. And I'm just going to drag those into my creative folder, and you'll see I've got a whole bunch of them. And now you'll notice when you relaunch Premiere and you look under the Creative tab, under the Look area, you'll see I have all of them right here that I just imported. And if I go to my Basic Correction area, I've got the two that I imported right here for my technical LUTs. I'm going to start with selecting my clip, and I'll apply one of these that I just brought in. So here's the S-Gamut Cinelog one here, and then here's the Log 3 from the Red camera. Let's say that I've gone into here and I've started working on some of this to try to pull this within range, starting with the input LUT, and I don't like what I see and I just want to flip back and forth. You'll also notice that we've added new controls in the Lumetri color panel to keep you from having to go back and forth with the effects panel. So you can turn the effect off and on and get back to that flat color space, as well as just do a simple revert. And maybe here you might want to go take a look at some of your creative looks that we just brought in. Everything I need to control is right in one place, and I can also leave my scopes up for the entire time without having to flip back and forth. One of the new UI features that we've added inside this version of Premiere Pro is the comparison view. And it's a great new addition that makes working and comparing shots and frames really easy. Start by selecting a clip, going to the program monitor, and click on Comparison View. You'll see that there's a toggle switch here that allows you to toggle from 2 shots for a shot comparison view or 1 frame. I'm going to start with a frame view to show you a before and after frame that allows you to start to watch the changes as you make them. So let's jump over to my Basic Correction tab and just maybe bring down some of the highlights here. And I'll just turn the heat up here a little bit, and you can quickly see from where we started with that creative look that I just applied to this on the before, and now I've added a little bit of heat and I can see the comparison. I can also click a split view and allow me to watch what's going on either a horizontal or vertical split. A really easy way to work. You can also jump over to your effects, for example, maybe grab an effect like a sharpen, make a change, and then start to see what's happening in a before and after view. So really, you can use this before and after view in lots of different ways. Now, if you're happy with the way that this after looks and you want to reset it, just select the button and select it again. Now that gives you a new starting point, and if you want to start dialing some of this back, you can start to work this way. Again, if you want to reset it, just click it and click it again. Couldn't be easier. And at any time, you can turn the Lumetri effect on or off and reset it. Let's jump over to Shot Comparison View by clicking on this icon and putting it into a reference and current frame mode. I'm also going to go over to my effects and delete my sharpen and switch over to my scopes. And what I have here is I have a second playhead that allows me to select which shot I want to use as a reference. And I like this particular shot here. And what I want to do is match the skyline of these two shots. And again, it couldn't be easier. All I have to do is jump over to color wheels and match. I'm not working with faces. We'll show you that a little bit later. So I'm going to turn that off. Click Apply Match. And as you can see, it does a really good job of matching those blues. Feel free to make any changes that you like. Again, we never want to lock you out of making changes as you go. We know that auto settings are really just a great place to start, but there's always tweaking that needs to be done. Again, with the new UI and the controls and the program monitor, it couldn't be easier. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at the color wheels and match and the face detection feature. Face shots in particular are always challenging, so this feature should really help you out quite a bit. First of all, I'm going to move my time marker on this clip here, and I want to point out that there's already a master clip effect. My technical LUT has already been applied. So the red line under here is telling me that the master clip effect has been applied to this. So when I select it, you'll notice under master, it's telling me that there has been a LUT assigned to this. And when I go under my basic correction, I can see my S gamma 3 LUT has been applied. That is different than a standard Lumetri effect that's been applied. Think of it as almost two Lumetri effects have been applied, one at the master level. It's just a way of ensuring that any place where this clip is used, no matter how many times you might use it in a different sequence or you might cut it up and use it in different areas, it's going to ripple to anywhere that clip has actually been used. So master clip effects are very handy, but they can be hard to keep track of when you've actually applied something like a LUT or even just other color settings to that under Lumetri. The red line is simply just telling you that it's been applied, so you can see that. That feature's actually been there for quite a while. I'll start this by selecting my red camera clip and just putting my time marker where I want it. I'm going to move my reference marker over here where I want to use this face as a reference to match that face. So let's jump over to color wheels and match, make sure face detection is checked, and hit apply match. And as you see, it really just spent the time matching the two faces, which it did a really nice job. But there are other areas that need to be corrected, in this case his shirt. I'll start by making additional adjustments, maybe under my midtone here, and just pull this up to where I think I can get his shirt in the rough area that might make a difference. Now, one way to really make this easy is we've given you a new vertical and horizontal split view, so I can move this over just a little bit so I can see each of his shoulders and start to match that. And maybe I'll just bring up this a little bit to lighten that. And as you can see, this split view is going to allow me to get that shirt pretty close to where I want to. And I'm already in the ballpark to continue the rest of any other adjustment that I need. But I'm really happy with how this is turning out. It really made color grading so much easier. Here's another great way to use the color wheels and match feature. when you just want to use a single frame from a video. Maybe you've used the camera tool here to grab a piece of video from another sequence or another project, or you've got a photo from Lightroom or Photoshop that has the colors in it that you'd like to work off of. Or even better yet, maybe you've jumped over to Adobe Stock and you've gone in and searched for something like an ocean sunset and you want to use one of these images here. It's just as easy as clicking on the download button, let it download that, right mouse click, add it to your project, and now you can use that as a reference file. I'm going to go ahead and grab this one here, put this in comparison view, and you can see I've got my Adobe stock shot here, and I just want to start to match some of this orange color, some of this copper color over to this shot here. So select your clip, turn off face detection, apply match, and I've got a great start. And as always, you can start to pull some of this down, maybe bring back some of the blue, go grab another tool like maybe your curves and start working on your blue areas here, and just pull this up a little bit just to grab a little bit more of that sky, and just have at it. Just anything that you need to get in and create, you've got a great place to start, and it couldn't be easier with the new tools inside of Lumetri and the new color wheels and match feature. In this version of Premiere Pro, we've also enhanced audio. Let's take a look at the new auto ducking tool and Essential Sound. Let's start by clicking on our audio workspace. Let's do a quick preview.
3, 2, 1, go!
Aquo is an energy drink company committed to health and fitness.
So as you can hear, we've got our CEO talk track on audio track 3, and we've got our music bed on audio track 2, but I need to get in there and do some work. And typically what I need to do is to come over here and select the pen tool and then manually raise or lower the music bed so I can actually hear what the CEO is saying for this particular talk track. With auto ducking, there's now an automatic way to do that, and this is a huge time saver. Let me show you how this works. In the Essential Sound panel, if you haven't had a chance to use it yet, you start by telling the Essential Sound panel what type of audio you've selected. I'll select all the clips and identify them as dialogue. Next, I'll select my music bed and identify that as music. You'll notice under music, the ducking option now appears, and I can turn that on, and it knows that I'm going to duck against dialogue, so anything that's tagged as dialogue, but I could duck against other music, sound effects, clips, ambient noise, anything where we need to adjust the volume. All you have to do now is click Generate Keyframes, and you'll see down here on the music bed track, it went ahead and added all those keyframes for me. Let's take a preview.
3, 2, 1, go!
Aquo is an energy drink company committed to health and fitness.
While that actually did what it was supposed to do, it actually reduced it a bit too much. All we need to do now is just go up to the option Reduce By, and I'll reduce that down quite a bit. I'll hit Generate Keyframes again. You'll see it raise the volume up a little bit, and let's see what happens.
2, 1, go!
Aquo is an energy drink company committed to health and fitness. Johanna represents what Aquo is all about. Pushing your limits, endurance, and stamina and strength.
Really, really useful feature. This is one I am going to use all the time. So long as we're talking about audio, I'll show you another great feature I'm pretty excited about. I'm going to quit out of this project. I see my file on my desktop. I'm going to right mouse click, and you'll now notice when you go open with, I can now open this Premiere Pro project with Adobe Audition, and I can select a sequence. I was working with the bike jump sequence, so I'll go ahead and choose that. And as you see here, if I select the comeback music track, you'll see all of my essential sound controls with the auto ducking controls that I had show up right inside of Adobe Audition. And if you need to do audio finishing and take it to the next level, this is a great step. Let's take a quick look at some of the enhancements we've made to motion graphics templates. If you're new to motion graphics templates, I have done a tutorial in the past, so you can check the YouTube channel for that. But a great way to get started is just to take any of the templates that we already have in the Essential Graphics panel and just drag them on your timeline to see what they do. Let's say that you're looking to add a set of credits to the end of this timeline. All you have to do is just drag and drop it right on the timeline, and as you can see here, the credits pop up. I can make any of the changes that I need to right here with the text tool. I can also check the roll checkbox if I wanted to roll up the screen. We have some great templates to get started with. Another great place to look for more Essential Graphics templates is to click on the Adobe Stock tab, and here you'll see you have two checkboxes. You have a premium checkbox and you have a free checkbox. I always recommend to customers check out some of the free ones that we have because there's some really cool ones there. The blue checkbox here simply means that I've downloaded and licensed and used that asset in the past, and it's a handy way to know what you've already used. I'll just grab one of these and bring it down to the timeline and just show you how easy it is to use and modify these. Let's go ahead and just scrub through this one. So I can see that that really doesn't do what I want it to do. It's too big, it's blocking my subject. But just remember, you do have the ability to go into the effects controls under motion and change some of those around. So let's start by just putting this graphic in the center of the screen and then going into effects and just adjusting scale and position. I'm going to turn off uniform scale to give myself a little bit more flexibility. Let's start by just picking some colors. And seeing what this looks like.
You're never gonna beat them.
That actually looks really good. So the next thing I might want to do is just add some text. And change some colors around. And I'll add a stroke. And lastly, I'll add a shadow. And I'll be a little more creative and I'll do a reveal on this text, and I'll just pop the text out right here, and let's take a quick look and see what this looks like.
You're never gonna beat them. You're never gonna wrestle.
That actually looks pretty good for not putting an enormous amount of time in here. Obviously, there's other font treatments you can get in and lots of ways to do this. Remember, we actually started this process just by taking this particular graphic, bringing it down to the timeline, and it wasn't really a graphic that was particularly very useful for this particular piece, and with just a couple of clicks I've modified it to my own needs. So the point I'm just trying to get across is when you take a look at a lot of these different elements that we have for Essential Graphics, you can really customize them in lots of different ways just by using parameters and effects that you already know. This of course is aside from all the other amazing control that you get with motion graphics templates. And now let's talk about some of the new enhancements we've done when it comes to controls that someone actually puts together inside of Adobe After Effects. I'll start with just grabbing a template that we use for this particular piece, and I've got that listed under my favorites. So I'm going to click the star here to refine the search just to my favorites. And again, you can tag any of the motion graphics templates that you use as a favorite, again, just by clicking the star. And I'll go ahead and just drag this to the timeline, give that a chance to load. One of the great things about setting up motion graphics templates for the editor is really giving them control over the look and feel of the motion of the graphics. When I play this back, look at how the waves come in, and then look how the graphic wipes on. So it might be really cool to change the rotation of this wipe to have the same angle as the waves. So let's play that back and see what that looks like. But I also want to point out this master position here where I can go in and I can now start to modify how some of this works. So I want to pop over to After Effects and show you how those controls are implemented. The reason I want to show you this, if you're an editor and maybe you don't use After Effects a lot, I want to show you how these things are done, so when you have a person creating some of these for you, you can start to ask them to add certain controls, and it's actually very easy. Here you get a look at how this was done inside of After Effects. When you look down on the composition timeline, you see how all of this was put together. Pretty amazing work and a stunning result that you already saw inside of Premiere. The idea is to give the Premiere editor the ability to change parameters as needed, and also to change those parameters that are really allowed, if you will, by the After Effects artist, meaning if we have to stay on brand or limit the amount of controls that you can have. Let's say, for example, that you wanted the ability to rotate the text under the master position scale group. So you see here, when I click over here, you see I've got my transform. I'm going to go up to my window, Essential Graphics, and I'm going to show what parameters we've granted to this motion graphics template. And you see we've got master position and master scale. The way that that's done is really easy. We're going to come down here, we're going to grab rotation, we're going to drag that right up here, and I'm going to just rename this master rotation, and now I have a rotation control, and I'll go ahead and export this out. I'll save this project. And I'll just throw this in my local templates folder, that's fine. And let's jump back over to Premiere Pro and take a look. So once back in Premiere, I'm going to drag this to the timeline. Let's select it and take a look at the master rotation. So I'll move this forward just a little bit and look at the new control that I just put in there. That looks really cool. Other ways to modify this, of course, are just to start to play around with some of the colors that are already in the scene. Another great feature that I find a lot of people overlook and can save you a ton of time is when you've made a change to maybe a font or some other parameter and you've re-exported out a master template out of After Effects. Let me show you what I mean. So in this particular template, I've actually changed the text to a cursive. I've changed the font. So how do I ensure that all the other titles are changed? It's really easy. Let me show you how. I'll start by selecting my template, holding down the Option key and picking one of the titles to replace. You'll see that it detects multiple matching graphics. Go ahead and click Yes. You'll see the font has changed to cursive here, as well as here and other places where it was used. This is just a great thing to know as you go in and make tweaks and changes to certain motion graphics templates, that you don't have to go out and replace the content and the settings on each one. Anytime I can save time on the timeline is a big win for me. Another great feature to know about motion graphics templates are the ones that you can create inside Premiere Pro using the title tool. So let me show you what I mean. I'll start with the text tool and just paste some text, and then make a box outline around the text. I'm going to rename the layer box outline to help me keep track of my shape layers. Next, I want to use the responsive design area to pin the box outline to the text. I'm going to select the bottom edge of the box outline to pin the text to. You'll notice that there's an indicator that tells me it's pinned to the bottom, that upside down T. When I select box outline and I pull from the bottom, you'll see that it's pinned to the bottom. If I select the text again and I select the left edge and then go back to the box outline and pull the right side versus the left side, you see that the text will follow the left side. You have several different options on how to pin it, whether it's to any corner, side, or center. Now, if you want to save this out for later use, you can make a motion graphics template directly inside of Premiere Pro just by right mouse clicking. I'll name this Simple Box Outline Brown, and I'll save it to my local templates folder. Now, when I want to reuse it, you see it shows up in my templates folder. I'm going to go ahead and turn that into a favorite, drag it to my timeline, and now I've got another title that I can start to rename. And as you can see, creating simple motion graphics templates inside of Premiere Pro is really easy. Premiere Pro can now detect and correct audio sync for variable frame rate camera data MPEG clips, such as those used on an iPhone or Android phone. Let me show you how this feature works. I'll start by selecting an area on my timeline and pressing the F key to do a match frame in my source monitor. You'll notice when you go to Effects Controls, there's a new setting for variable frame rate, and you see where we can preserve audio sync or smooth motion. You'll see that by selecting Preserve Audio Sync, which is its default, this will add or drop frames depending on the video, so it'll be in sync with the recorded audio. The end result is you'll see that the lip sync is noticeably tighter. Finally, let's talk about a great new export option that we've added for H264 and H265 HEVC files. I'll select my sequence, jump up to Export Media. You'll notice that when you choose the format H264 or HEVC, H265 formats, there's a new option under the Video tab. When you scroll down, if your Intel CPU supports this, you'll see the Hardware Accelerated Performance tab pop up. You also have the ability to go back to software-only mode. It's also important to point out that either Adobe Media Encoder or Premiere Pro, which both support this new acceleration, requires at least an Intel Core 6th generation or later processor. On Mac systems, you'll need at least 1013 High Sierra or higher, and on Windows, you need Windows 10 or higher.